Morning stretched slowly over Dagwar, covered in a veil of mist. The cold wind blew between the houses, carrying the scent of damp wood and stables. In front of the family farmhouse, the royal messenger, Evrir, was adjusting his horse's bridle. My father, Favor, watched him silently, arms crossed. I approached, still affected by what he had told us the previous evening. Messenger Evrir, before we leave, I would like to understand. Why now? Why reopen the way of Valimir after a century of abandonment? Evrir raised his head, surprised, then let out a soft sigh. King Vedris wants to unite the kingdom, he said, to offer a common goal to all the lords. But some see it above all as a political maneuver. This road will cross disputed territories, and not everyone will be happy to see it reborn. My father growled in a deep voice. The South, especially. They fear losing their sea routes to the east. The way of Valimir would cut into their profits. The messenger nodded uneasily. They'll pretend to cooperate, but they'll stall the project at the slightest opportunity. Some are already talking about sabotage. I frowned. And who will lead such an undertaking? It will take more than an ambitious noble to rally the North and Center to this madness. The king has entrusted command to General Rickler, replied Evrir, a respected man, a veteran of the Northern Wars. The deadline is ambitious, 2 to 3 years to reopen the entire route. I let out a short, bitter laugh. 3 years to reach the east? Even our best horsemen would struggle to keep the route safe for a single winter. Evrir forced a smile. The king assures us that the safety of the volunteers will be the priority. You won't be alone. Other provinces will send their men. But the danger remains great. My father approached the messenger and placed a heavy hand on his shoulder. Tell the king that Dagwar will keep his word, but not to ask the impossible. Evrir bowed deeply. I will, chief favor. Then he mounted his horse. May the gods guide your choices. He kicked his heel, and the sound of hooves faded into the mist. I followed him with my eyes until he disappeared around the bend in the road. My father was silent for a moment before murmuring, "We will discuss the volunteers tonight." I simply nodded. The air seemed heavier than it had been moments before, as if the entire kingdom had just invited itself to Dagwar. The following days, the village is in turmoil. News of the royal mission for our small community of scout riders has spread like wildfire. Between excitement and fear, discussions are rife in the tavern and in the marketplace. Everyone has their own opinion on the impending danger and the chances of success of our expedition. With my friends and parents, I lose track of time. Between preparing supplies, sorting equipment, recruiting volunteers, and planning the route, the hours tick by relentlessly. The minor storm of the previous days hasn't improved the overall organization, but we're staying the course. Lysar, the youngest, takes care of the horses as always, with his usual calm. Tavner helps me plot our route using old maps of the Way of Valimir. Eldar, for his part, assesses the volunteers with the seriousness of a captain, while Corver oversees our weapons and armor, grumbling but effective. Despite the urgency and the unforeseen, our preparations are progressing. Soon, we will leave Dagwar, but it will always remain in our hearts. As you move through the bustling streets, villagers stop you every few steps, bombarding you with questions, concerns, and well wishes. Some urge caution, warning that the mission might be too perilous, while others cheer you on, calling you heroes in the making. Even the village elder, usually stern and composed, pats you on the back, his eyes shining with a mix of pride and worry. Meanwhile, your parents are busy preparing food, clothing, and other necessities, working tirelessly alongside the rest of the villagers. Your mother frets about the harsh weather conditions ahead, while your father reminds you to stay vigilant. Their love and worry wrap around you like a warm blanket, making it harder to ignore the ache in your chest. At the tavern, rumors spread like wildfire, fueled by speculation and exaggeration. I heard the king himself will be joining the procession. No, it's the legendary hero, Aaron the Unyielding, who'll be leading the charge. The noise and laughter provide a distracting hum, but deep down, everyone knows the stakes are high. While the chaos simmers around you, your core group works efficiently, each member playing to their strengths. Lysar tends to the horses, her gentle touch soothing even the most skittish beasts. Tavner plots the route, muttering curses whenever he encounters a particularly treacherous stretch. Eldar interviews the volunteers, his intensity intimidating even the most seasoned writers. Corver, ever the jokester, pokes fun at the volunteers' gear, hiding his genuine concern beneath humor. As the days dwindle, your bond grows stronger, your trust in each other becoming unbreakable. On the fifth day, while the storm is raging, I find a moment of respite in the early evening. I go to the small contemplative temple in the village square to say a few prayers before our mission. But it's hard to concentrate. Too many questions assail me. Will the king be sincerely committed to this grandiose project? Will he provide the necessary resources? Will we be mere pawns to be sacrificed? Will we have the opportunity to prove our worth to the greatness of the Bulldom? And the lords of the South, will they seek to participate or sabotage the quest? All these thoughts distract me from the serenity I had hoped to find. The priests are busy preparing the departure ceremony, adding to my unease. Convinced that I will not find peace tonight, I get up and prepare to join my friends at the tavern. But as I turn on my heel, the temple door suddenly opens. I turn around. One of my father's guards is standing in the pouring rain. He tells me that an old man from a neighboring village wants to speak to me. He's waiting for me in the family farmhouse. Rain drips from the guard's helmet, dripping onto the temple's stone floor. His expression is solemn, serious. You recognize him as one of your father's most trusted men. He wouldn't be here unless it was important. The old man from the neighboring village. That's unusual. Visitors aren't common, especially not in this weather. A shiver runs down your spine, though you're not sure why. Something feels off. You hurry back to your family's farmhouse, the wind whipping your cloak into a frenzy. The guard follows closely behind. As you near the door, you slow, your senses on high alert. Who could this mysterious visitor be? And what does he want to discuss with you? I cross the village square, empty at this hour, covered in mud, soaked by rain, and swept by sporadic gusts of wind, and I enter the family farmhouse, accompanied by my father's guard. It's already dark, and the large fireplace crackles, while the faces of my parents and the mysterious visitor turn towards me as I take off my dirty boots. Father, mother. What is it? Your parents exchange a nervous glance, their faces illuminated only by the soft glow of the fireplace. The air inside the farmhouse feels thick with tension. The old man sits near the fire, shrouded in shadows. His wrinkled hands clutch a worn wooden staff, his eyes piercing despite his age. He seems familiar, somehow, though you're certain you've never seen him before. Your father steps forward, his voice low. Kaler, son, this man claims to have information. He wouldn't say what exactly, but insisted on speaking to you directly. Your mother moves closer, concern etched on her forehead. We weren't sure what to make of it, dear, but we thought it best to bring him here. A soaked old man, bundled up in a worn coat, squats near the embers, his hands trembling to keep warm. He remains silent, as if absorbed by the heat. I approach my father. Father, who is this man? My father, Favor, lowers his voice under the intrigued gaze of my mother, who doesn't take her eyes off the old man, as if trying to read his intentions. He comes from Trailer, the village north of here. His name is Gedrer. He asked to speak to me alone, then to see you afterward. He seemed worried, as if carrying a heavy secret. I glance at the old man, and I approach him near the fireplace, sitting down beside him, trying to study his worried and thoughtful expression. I remain silent for a moment, while he continues to stare into the fireplace, concentrated, like a priest seeking visions through the flames. Are you Kaler, son of Chief Favor? He asks me, without taking his gaze off the flames reflected in his green eyes. I am indeed Kaler, I say in a slightly suspicious tone. Before continuing, who are you? What do you want from me? Gedger sits motionless on an old chair. His soaked coat lets a few drops fall onto the earth of the hearth. His trembling hands move closer to the flames. He finally speaks, his voice hoarse. I'm a traveler. They call me Gedger. He looks away, as if to gauge my reactions before continuing. Rumor, it travels fast. I've heard of you, Kaler, of your quest, of your search for volunteers for a scouting mission. On the path of Alamir, he stops, hesitates, as if weighing his words. This news has deeply affected me, perhaps because few understand the magnitude of this path. His eyes finally meet mine, intense. They say you are courageous, that you inspire confidence. But it takes more than a reputation for what I seek. He leans in slightly, as if to whisper a secret to me. I can't tell you right away who I am or why I came. But believe me, what I have to say is tied to the story you're about to tell. I cast a skeptical glance at my parents behind me, who were watching me intently, before observing the old man's piercing gaze for a moment, as if trying to detect deception, but nothing. I hope you're not wasting my time, old man. I have a lot to do, and the stakes are high. I will not tolerate the slightest deception. Know that before you continue your revelations. Gedra nods slowly, his eyes never wavering. I understand. Deception would be unwise indeed, especially considering the circumstances. He shifts uncomfortably, his joints creaking. You're young, Kaler, but you've earned respect. Your people trust you. That's why I'm here. I've watched generations forget, but you might be the one. He pauses, collecting his thoughts. He'll get straight to the point. You're headed east to restore the way of Valamir. But there's something more, something crucial, hidden along the way. His eyes dart around the room, ensuring no one else is listening in. Satisfied, he leans forward, his whisper barely audible. Valamir left behind pieces of a puzzle. Tablets, hidden in fortified villages. They're the key to finding his tomb. Gedra's grip on his staff tightens, his knuckles white. It said his tomb holds a forgotten power, one that could change the fate of your kingdom. I raise my eyebrows, surprised by his frankness about this singular revelation. I wasn't expecting this at all. I turn once more to my parents to share my astonishment. Then I turn again to Gedra. I came across this legend during my research on the mythical way of Alamir, but to be honest, I didn't pay much attention to it. It seemed rather far-fetched to me. Why should I believe you? Is there something else about you that I should know? Gedra clears his throat, his eyes clouding over. He glances at your parents, then back at you, his expression resolute. There's something I haven't told you, Kaler. Something that makes all the difference. He takes a deep breath, his chest rising and falling slowly. I'm no ordinary traveler. I'm one of the last living descendants of Valamir himself. Your parents exchange shocked glances, clearly caught off guard by this revelation. I've lived a long life, seen many things, kept many secrets. But this is too important to die with me. You see, I've watched the world forget the sacrifices, forget the genius of my ancestor. And now, with your mission, I realize there's still hope. Hope that this forgotten power won't disappear forever. Tears well up in his eyes, making them shine like emeralds in the firelight. I couldn't let this chance pass. You, Kaler, have a chance to prove yourself, to prove that the blood of brave men still flows strong in these lands. And I can give you the tools to succeed. Will you listen?